The very first thing I want to say is that if you own the Mic 1 and you're thinking about getting the Mic 2, but you already have a workflow down that works perfectly with the Mic 1, don't get the Mic 2. See, so many influencers flaunt the newest and flashiest thing, and because newer is more fun and obviously it makes life easier, you feel like you have to get it. And that's exactly why I bought the DJI Mic 2 that end. I also don't have a lav kit like this. I have the Zoom F2 and the Tascam DR10L, I think it's called. So just as a disclaimer up front, don't feel pressured to buy the new gear. The mics aren't gonna make the video awesome. You do, bro. First up is 32-bit float, because obviously that should be first up. Now 32-bit float starts to go into theoretical territory because theoretically, it can record a higher dynamic range than all the ranges that can be found on planet Earth. But the only limiting factor is going to be what mic it's hooked up to. And that means, you know, what's the decibel levels it can do? What are the frequencies the mic can record at? So long story short, unless you're recording gunshots or something like that, there's not going to be any clipping, bro. And truthfully, 32-bit float is really nice to have, but it's not needed. Just like a microwave isn't needed. You can always heat stuff up in the oven, but microwave makes things quicker and easier. So do with that what you will. Next up is going to be the receiver, which has a full redesign and a slew of new features. And my favorite part about it is the jog wheel. Not only does it have a touch screen to make things relatively easy, but the jog wheel, all you have to do is click in on something, then you can adjust it, then you can click out and you're done. And that goes for the menus too. You can scroll through the menus and then click into certain things if you don't feel like using the touchscreen feature. One of the other upgrades I really love is the auto off and on with the power of the camera. So if you're out running, gunning, whether you're shooting client or whether you're shooting content, when you click the power button off on the camera, there is a 3 to 5 second delay, but the receiver will shut itself off too. Same thing when you turn it on, when you turn it back on, 3 to 5 second delay as well, which, you know, you get used to and start to preemptively make actions towards. It just takes some adjustment, but it is one of the best features that have been introduced. And of course they were going to introduce it because Rode has it on their wireless pros. Yeah, that's what it's called. Wireless pros. The record stop block feature is definitely a lifesaver if you are working with talent that is typically klutzy, clumsy, whatever you want to call it. The ability to stop recording from the actual transmitter is taken away because of the signal from the receiver. So there's not going to be any accidental turning off of the audio, and that is definitely really good for run and gun situations. Another thing that's been added are the presets for the camera. They literally have all the big name mirrorless camera companies, whether it's Fujifilm, Canon, Sony, Panasonic. There's a ton of them, and there's a lot of options, and it makes it incredibly easy because the only thing you have to do is adjust the gain on your camera and it's done. Now, I don't recommend using the actual signal sent to the camera. I always record locally onto the transmitter itself, then offload that, and I have far more leverage with that 32-bit float that we discussed earlier. Also, if you're going for more of a stealthy approach, which, you know, you're probably not, if you're just putting the lav mic right on someone's shirt because of the fact of how glossy it is. There's no matte finish like the old one. So you're not really going to get stealth, but long story short, you can turn off the LEDs on the actual transmitter itself too, directly from the receiver. It's a nice feature. Really wish they had done something a little bit different with the outside styling, but that's just personal preference. The number one feature I love the most is the auto record when you pull it out of a case. If you're forgetful like me, that might have happened in the past. Maybe it didn't, who knows? But all you have to do is pop this thing out of the case and it immediately starts recording for you. So there is no remembering, hey, talent, hit the record button. Last thing you want to do is not really set your gain on your camera with the receiver and then not have the local recording on the transmitter, and suddenly, I mean, it's better than nothing, but 9 times out of 10, I'm not really even adjusting the gain on the receiver because I know that I'm going to be using the internal recording. So for me, that might kill a full shoot. So that is why I love this thing. If you're forgetful, like me, it's a life changer. And the next thing we're going to talk about are the transmitters themselves, aka the recorders. Not in love with the aesthetics on these things. The glossy finish is not really my style. It's not easy to hide. I mean, obviously you can put it on a belt buckle and run a lav up, but really wish that we would have either had something even better than the previous design or the previous design not being tampered with. Just one of those things of preference. A feature they added is noise canceling. Now, I prefer to not use onboard noise canceling because I'd rather have all the frequencies recorded, pump it into a video editing app, and then be able to either isolate those specific frequencies in the EQ myself to remove them, or use some kind of AI-assisted noise isolator. And of course, with the redesign on these transmitters, they do have stronger magnets. I can attest to that. The magnets are very strong. They are smaller and they are lighter, which is nice because that way it's not pulling or tugging on your shirt when you just have the full lav mic on the front. But to be blunt, the audio quality is I've heard some reviewers say that it all comes down to user error. My low cut filter is turned off. I've used tons of different mics over the years, and I can assure you that the audio quality on these mics are mediocre at best. Of course, if you EQ it, it's going to sound good. And with that EQing, of course you're going to make it sound good, because anything that's, 24-bit, you don't need 32-bit float. But if you have something 24-bit and you know where to place the mic and you know how to EQ, it's going to come out sounding great. It's not like something that's absolutely phenomenal. So it's not like you're gaining anything if you have the skills to EQ with this mic. It just means that you can really start to hone in and EQ with tons of other mics. Now let's talk about the case. It is top tier. Along with the bag that it comes in, it's incredibly convenient to throw into your backpack while feeling protected. You don't really have to worry about much. It is a solid metal case with a locking clamp. It is not plastic and it does lock. I can assure you that it locks very well and even makes a satisfying noise when you close it. So the case looks good, feels good, and can definitely be used as a self-defense weapon in worst case scenario. Always an added bonus. So my impressions of these things is it's simple, it is easy to use, definitely gets the job done. Doesn't feel like a massive step up from the original mics that I've used because tons of my other friends have them and we've used them on small content shoots, right? So if you're looking at upgrading, what I'd say is if you need the 32-bit float, then yes, upgrade. If you don't and you're already okay with your workflow, don't worry about upgrading. If you've never bought one of these packs before, you don't have anything comparable, yeah, go ahead, upgrade. If you just want to upgrade, but you have the originals, you don't need to. If you have the coin to spend, then hell yeah, brother. And if you need to and you're starting out and you're looking for a production kit, I do recommend this, and not sponsored, baby. Anyways, keep creating, keep crushing it. Peace.